We're here with Coach Richard Chinapoo. And Coach, are you ready to go full field?
Yes, I am.
All right, Coach. What do you enjoy most about coaching soccer?
It's a game I grew up with back in Trinidad and Tobago. So ever since I know myself, I've been playing the game. So it's given a lot to me. So I just want to give back. I like to see kids enjoy the game, be creative, and through the game they can learn a lot about themselves.
And who's your favorite soccer player?
Wow, that's a good question. I have a couple of them. A long time ago, there was a guy named Pele. That's the first one. Grew up watching him. And then in 1974, I was introduced to Johann Sebastian Cruyff with the Dutch national team that introduced total soccer. And ever since that, I wanted to be a player like Johann Cruyff, which is more of a total player. He can defend, he can create, he can pass, he can shoot. He's unselfish. So those two for sure. Now, obviously, recently with the Messis, the Maradonas, the Ronaldos, a lot of people don't know Eusebio, but Eusebio was amazing. Georgie Best was amazing. So there's a lot of them, but those two definitely stand out, Pele and Cruyff.
That's great. What inspired you to become a coach?
Again, giving back. My coaching started way back in the 80s, and soccer was not as prominent as it is now. So there were a lot of parent coaches, a lot of people ended up coaching that didn't have the knowledge of the game. So I kind of figured if we're going to teach the kids, you might as well have someone who has experience in the game.
And what's the best part of working with young athletes?
The joy on their faces when they accomplish something. I try to encourage them to find themselves, kind of learn who you are, what your strengths are, what the things you need to work on. I just like to enjoy them playing the game because it is a beautiful game and I still enjoy playing.
What's one lesson soccer has taught you?
Hard work. There's many lessons. Hard work, discipline, commitment, dedication, nutrition. I mean, it's kind of been my life. Patience. How to get off. You lose a game, you're sad. You got to pick yourself up. So it's really taught me everything about life.
And how would you describe your coaching style?
Over the years, it has changed. One coach that I had in Dallas kind of influenced that a bit. He was more low-key. He let the players be themselves. Now, keep in mind, he put together a talented group of players, of veteran players who were leaders. And he allowed us to play. He allowed us to be ourselves. He allowed us to get into arguments because we competed. We were very competitive. So I try to do my work during the week at training sessions, and at the games, I let the players play.
And what's the most important value you teach your players?
Hey, it goes back to what I said I got out from the game. The joy, the passion, because I want them to stick with the game. I want them to play the game as long as they stay healthy and want to play. I want them to become coaches and give back to the game. Yeah, that's pretty much it.
And what makes soccer special to you?
I mean, again, everything. Growing back in the day in the islands. I mean, it's football, and football is the number one sport throughout the world. That was the number one sport. That gave me recognition within my community. It gave me a responsibility to represent my community properly. I was taken under the wings of older gentlemen who made sure I stayed on the straight path. I couldn't, they're like, no, you gotta, you can't be partying too late, you can't be drinking, stuff like that. So, and obviously, to make a high school team, I made the national youth team at 17 years old. I made the senior national team at 20 years old. So those were aspirations that I had, but football was the thing that gave me joy, an identity, friends, a community. This is what I'm still doing even now. This is what it gives me. It gives me friends, it gives me a community, it gives me the drive to influence young kids. So.
And what's your favorite position to play?
As I aged, so in my younger days I was a forward, a striker. Obviously seeing Cruyff, I wanted to play midfield. So my senior year in college I ended up playing midfield, and then I graduated. I played professionally in the midfield. Then I played indoors in the indoor league, MISL. This is back in the day in the 80s and 90s. And I actually ended up playing defense. So I can play any position on the field besides goalkeeper.
And which coach or mentor kind of influenced you the most?
There's many of them. Like I said, Gordon Jago, who's no longer with us, but he's the one in Dallas that was a cool guy, just put the team together and let us play. My college coach, Arnie Ramirez, was hard on me. I didn't understand it at the time, but I understand it now. Dieter Ficken, who recruited me from Trinidad for my first year in LIU. Kenny Cooper, who was hard on me also in Baltimore. Jim Paulahan here in Harrisburg, who was similar to Gordon Jago in a way. So there are many coaches along the way, and my youth coaches definitely back home.
Great. And finally, to wrap this up here, Richard, you made it full field. What's one thing you hope every player takes from your coaching?
Respect for the game.
All right, there it was, Coach Richard Chinapoo. Thanks for your time today for going full field.
You're welcome.